Greetings and peace, everyone. Tonight, I have the honor and pleasure of being joined by Brother Manan Bhatt from the Grand Lodge of India, and he will explain to us the beauty and pleasure and the philosophy of being an Indian Freemason and the responsibility and the purpose he has found in his life. Now, a disclaimer before we begin that we represent ourselves and our opinions only and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or opinions as free men. Also, we will only discuss philosophy and our purpose, as discussion of religion and politics is prohibited in Freemasonry. So now I will let Brother Manan introduce himself, and I will let him take it away.
Very much for the kind start off. I am from Lodge Kathiawar number 59 under Grand Lodge of India, that is in the Western Zone, Western Lodge of India. And I have been member since 2010. I was initiated. I was the first, who was the youngest Mason at my time.
Mm.
And then my dad joined later on, which is really quite extraordinary in a sense that I think there was one instance in the history of Freemasonry in India that this has happened like that. My dad joined 2 or 3 years later than me. So I was not Louis's son, but I had to wait for 21st birthday so that I can, join in. And they scrutinized it very well. They were cautious about, into the fraternity. But so far so good. And after that, I went to London, where I had opportunity to go along with various lodges, and I have traveled well, I can say, in every sense, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm also into appended degrees and chapter and conclave, the secret brotherhood of David and Jonathan.
mm-hmm.
Um, Also in Roscoe, I'm 18th degree, much less than you, of course, and hopefully I'll be going to my journey soon, as well as in the Order of Scarlet Cord. Uh, that should define at least the half of it, let's say.
Yes. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I myself have the pleasure of being under the United Grand Lodge of England under William Preston Lodge number 766. And I'm also affiliated here with Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania here in USA under their Scottish Rite, which is known as ancient accepted rite in other countries as a 32nd degree Mason. And I'm also with the Royal Arch as a Mark Master Mason and as a Royal Arch Mason. So in our journeys, Brother Manan, we realize when we become Freemasons, how has it helped you in your life to see the world in a different way? Especially, how can you make India a better place with the responsibility and the rights you have seen as a Freemason?
That's a very lovely question that you have put, Brother Salman. Like, see, let's say in India you said, but I'll start with individual self.
Mm-hmm.
Any nation, of course, like it's a cliched way, but the truth is a sovereign individual makes the country at the end of the day.
Yes.
So, like, coming back to my individual self, I firmly believed that uh, if a man, like to cut it short, I will just say, if a man cannot become worthy of being a Freemason, I thought in this world that he might not be a kind person enough to serve the larger purpose of society. That was my benchmark, my
Mm.
measurement unit. And I tried to see, emulate. Back before then, I was like, whenever I was around 19 or 20, I was a little, you can say, spoiled person as a teenager and whatnot. Uh, I did not know how to dress up properly, or I'm not saying not know, but like, like out of the, I mean, I used to, let's just say that if Freemasonry makes good men better, I was definitely not a good man enough even. So I thought this could be a very interesting place to start with. I have been enchanted, and suddenly I found out that one of the erstwhile princely royal family from my region, their forefathers were founders of the Masonic temple, which is actually 110 plus years old.
Yes.
Even though the Grand Lodge of India is established in 1961, but because of here, so we had English lodge, and we will talk about it in further. But so I really developed that idea that being a Freemason opens the doors to openness and freedom and liberty, and we can interact with strangers but with a code of conduct, and there is a strict discipline, and all this is good for a human being, and
Mm.
that makes a larger, better society. So those ideas were I was not just like curious as some young new Freemasons ought to be, because of the social media. And back in my time there was no invention of iPhone either.
Mm.
I don't remember, maybe the first generation, but it was not so open, and like now, because of the YouTube and the social media, people come to know about all these things. But
Yes.
I have decided, and I think that for India, uh, in India, maybe in US and the rest of Europe, it's a very known organization. But in India, we have to explain what is Freemasonry.
Mm.
And of course, we have always hard time explaining it in a way. And but we are in a good number. But I am very blessed that I met people elder to me who respect me, and we are at the same level,
Yeah.
no age bar or no. Uh, I was very inexperienced during my starting of the journey, as you can imagine.
Mm.
But I think I made my way and looked up to the standards of the, let's say, the ideals of Freemasonry, and I think I'm little better than what I was, if that answers the question. But particularly about India, I'll just say that now people are getting aware, and my mother lodge is probably one of the youngest mother lodge. After me, there has been surge of young Masons seeking to start their journey has
Mm.
joined in, and day by day, the average mean of the total population, total membership has decreased, and 30s around that, and something like that. So it's and East is known for the old and ancient civilizations, spiritual ideas. It all has been synthesized with this traditional yet modern and Western, let's say, esoteric fraternity
Mm.
in some sense, and it mingled with it as a natural stream would. And so in India, there are a lot of potentials, and many of them are in various bodies and lodges across the continent, across the whole world, and many
Mm.
of them are residing in different countries as well. So, as we say, Freemasons do not have any boundaries,
Mm.
which is true, even in the Indian sense of every citizen is sovereign, freedom of religion, which we can talk about it later if you permit me to. I hope that goes right way.
Sure, my brother. And you explained it very eloquently and very beautifully about the philosophy of being an Indian Freemason and how Freemasonry in India has helped you in your journey. And it's a beautiful, beautiful brotherhood where no matter what your nationality or religion, you could be Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, British, Indian, American, we're all brothers. And we can teach the world right now in a very divisive state, Brother Manan, that if we can come together and love one another, why can't all of you? We all believe in God. We're trying to make this world a better place. We're trying to make ourselves better. And the only way the world gets better if the people inside of the world get better. So we're in this journey walking each other home and owing this love and light to one another. And I would ask you, as a young Freemason in India, how has your purpose defined you on where you stand, where you see yourself in the future, and how do you see the purpose of the brotherhood carrying you forward in terms of uniting all of your people as one. And you're permitted to talk freely on whatever subject you desire.
Thank you. It's a food for thought, actually. Let's say when we are talking, it's let's say April of 2021. This video. So the pandemic is going on, and we all know. So in this crisis, let's say, I propose the idea that even my mother lodge and some of the lodges, as well as other orders in India, especially, I don't know about other countries. Of course, I'm sure they do also the same. They're moving to digital masonry, which is like, it's an ancient order
Yes.
with a modern technological, instincts in it. And it's the what I find from that is that indicates why and how it is useful. And even though in the worst crisis, worst times in the history till now, it has been a very interesting journey that Freemasons always existed. Even let me point out to one of, because I just even there have been when there was during the Holocaust,
Mm.
and when the people were in the concentration camp, uh, there are evidence that they had lodges, made up lodges inside the camps. If you can research it,
Mm.
I can't be an authority on that, but I believe so as well,
Yes.
and I've read it somewhere. At the same time, during the so-called, let's say, emergency in India in 1974 due to government, which we should not be deep into it, but
Mm.
at that time, the only group which was allowed to meet behind the closed doors were Freemasons, and it was a curfew situation, lockdown, like everything. And
Mm.
even now, but we have
Um,
from me and to
but
be able to talk.
brother
That's
Manan, can
beautiful.
you
So
please
this will go.
excuse me, can you please repeat your last 30 seconds of your conversation? Your connection was breaking up. Sorry about that.
What was the last? What was the last thing I you heard?
When you were talking about Freemasons during the pandemic meeting behind closed doors, and then after that, the connection went unstable. So
Oh,
please,
okay,
please,
yeah.
please repeat.
So that means there is a need, and let's say digital masonry,
Mm-hmm.
so-called, is antithesis, but somewhat that explains the need of the brotherhood. We brothers can't live without a meeting somehow or the
Yes.
other, and we exchange ideas, and you are there miles away from me. That's what I was saying, and
Mm-hmm.
still we can connect. So it's a beauty, and like the times are changing. With that, the masonry has been the same in its essence, but around it, things have changed. So if we talk particularly about India, now people are aware, and many people were, let's say, curious, inverted commas, are trying to join and like keen and all, but maybe they are not sincere enough. Maybe they are, who knows? I'm
Mm.
not the judge, but things are changing very rapidly. And for the future of Freemasonry, I think it's going in the right direction. We have survived ages and ages, and I hope that continues till the end of times.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And again, you always display everything in a very eloquent and beautiful way, and how no matter what, how the ages change, our brotherhood always exists in some way, shape, or form. So right now with the pandemic, everything is going digital, and our brotherhood is actually thriving more than it ever has before, even in the digital age. So just like how the world
Yes.
is a work in progress, our life and our ashlars are a work in progress, where we have to go from a rough ashlar to a smooth ashlar. And now we have the COVID-19 pandemic, where most people thought that this might have hurt us, but it actually made us stronger, where I'm here in US, you're in India, and we're talking face to face with each other, which shows how our global brotherhood transcends all borders, races, religions,
Yeah.
nationalities. We're all brothers. We're all here to love and respect one another and to leave this world in a better condition in which we inherited in from one generation to another. So in our generation, we inherited this from our Masonic forefathers. Now it's our responsibility to leave this in a better way and hand it to the future generation of Freemasons and humanity in general. So my next question for you would be, in growing up with the your upbringing in India, with the education and with the philosophy that you get taught by your family on culture and values as a human being, connecting to God and being a good human being, what oneness did you find in the Masonic path? Because a lot of we're taught to look to the East, and a lot of the philosophies and brotherhoods have originated from India, from the ancient times, where people from those days would go to India to study under the different gurus and Brahmins. So I would ask
Oh,
you,
yeah.
what upbringing in your life in India made you see a connection with your life in Freemasonry?
That's a wonderful way, you know, at least half of it, but or maybe more. But I'll be, adding to that point. India has been unity in diversity. We have almost all the religions in the world. Even the Jews have not been persecuted only in one country. That nation is India.
Yes,
So they
yes.
are quite tolerant. They love each other. Of course, there are ups and downs here and there in history, like time tested reality. But so far, so good. I have been born into a Hindu family,
Mm,
Brahmin myself. So when I was researching uh, back then, around like during the British era, when the first person who wanted to become a Mason, who was a Hindu, I presume, and not a Christian, they had to amend and think over it, that how do we inculcate this member. And so in India, as far as India is concerned, we have five VSL, volumes of sacred laws, uh, Quran, the Bhagavad Gita,
mm,
uh, the Christian Bible, as well as the Old Testament within it, which will be for the Jews, uh, and Parsi scripture, as
mm,
well as the Sikh. So that is the inclusivity we have added. And when the first Mason was not of the faith of, let's say, Christianity, which was usually the case back in Europe and rest of the countries, in India they have developed it, and made it now into anybody who can come up with a with a hunger of knowledge and a sense of openness. Because
mm,
when you are in the lodge, you might see a younger person than me who could be on the eastern chair. And at the same time, and there is a very beautiful thing I just recalled right now. George Washington's gardener was one time a worshipful master.
yes.
So like things like this, and I'm just connecting, and you can connect the dots in between. So like the ideas of religious freedom, the democracy, brotherhood, and I will go so far as a little bit into maybe a political science thing. Uh, A.O. Hume, the founder of Indian National Congress, which led to Indian independence, uh, was a Freemason,
Mm,
a forward thinker. Annie Besant was from co-masonry, the women inclusive body of Freemasonry.
mm,
Annie Besant worked in India a long time ago and for the good of Indian freedom fighting. So
mm,
all these ideas has been trickled down into me, and I bear a little bit of responsibility that I am representing this noble order.
mm,
And wherever I go, I receive the same from every brother. And so India has been always a prominent place, I would say. We have something called, there was one order which was founded in India in, I think, 1700s or maybe 1800s, called the August Order of Light, which was all Hindu oriented, like Brahma being the Eastern chair,
Mm,
if you can understand what I'm saying. And so Brahma, the creator deity in Indian context.
mm,
So it's all the same. Every religion are different. As Swami Vivekananda, who was also a brother
yeah.
Narendranath from India, Swami Vivekananda, he said that all the religions are the stream towards the same Godhead
Mm,
or the godliness, let's put it that way, or the Grand Lodge above. And I think nothing better than Freemasonry has inspired him to say that, or uh, we can also say that nothing better than Freemasonry can do it.
yes.
I think even in US Constitution or Indian Constitution, there has been footprints of all these ideals which come from prominent Freemasons. The
Mm,
first Governor General of Free India was, the then president, of course, after that, when it became a republic, C. Rajgopalachari was also a Freemason. Also, Fakhruddin Ahmed Ali
yes.
also was a Freemason. So we have a vivid, wide variety of things. Uh, the Tatas used to be one of the family
Mm,
as a business model, and they were quite close with the empire, and during those days, which was considered all right to be. I think because your question is specific, I'm going a little longer to it, but
sure.
these are all nuances, connected with it. That's why I'm just trying to let you know, and this can open up further research. That's why I'm pointing out all these small bits and pieces here and there, so people who are watching this can, draw to their own conclusions. Maybe they are interested. As I said, August Order of Light, which I
Yeah.
was invited to also form, but unfortunately, due to my illness, I could not form that. That developed in India, but it got exhausted, and now again they have started the order in India.
That's
So
that's that's
we have
beautiful.
a rich, and yeah, you asked me the Eastern context. Let's say Takshashila and Nalanda universities were, I think, older than Oxford University, which are 800 years old and all. People from Mediterranean, Alexandria library, people who used to study there, used to come to the Indian belt. It includes Pakistan, it includes Afghanistan,
Mm,
Bhutan, all the rest of. When we are talking about geographical India in now political sense, we don't mean that, of course. So, so the Buddhism developed here, the Indian subcontinent, and
mm.
these are all the ideas. So Taxashila, or in English, it's Takshila, Taxila, Taxila University, which they have dug up, and and there is also some scholarly, I would say, some scholarly richness of material which is available for uh, even saying that the Egyptian learnings come from India, or the other way around. It could be, but it might be true. And also the Roman culture has been influenced. The Latin language has originated from Sanskrit. Also, Arabic words has been loaned from from the Arabian peninsula into Sanskrit. So it's a mixed culture, and people at that time used to meet with the same equality. Otherwise, this would have not been the world which we are living in.
Mm.
I would just hold on to that right now. So yeah.
That is beautiful, my brother, and you explained it perfectly. Where at that time it was all just one land, what we know as borders and countries today. The concept of post World War II didn't exist. Everything was one land where Indians, Persians, the different Orientals, Arabs, they were all one people contributing to their own growth and to each other's growth. And that was the beauty of all of these cultures where we all come together, love and respect one another. And even the most people don't know that martial arts also originated in India, including Buddhism,
Oh,
like you have pointed out.
yeah.
So India has
Yes, yes.
been the hub of many
I
religious and
have
knowledge.
been aware there is a some I forgot the word, but in South India, the mother of all martial arts comes from there, and I visited that school
Hmm.
2 years back, and I was fascinated to know that okay, India is the land and the mother of all the things.
Yeah.
It makes me proud as an Indian.
Yes.
And anybody who was from India or has been affiliated with Indianness in every way, even the Britishers wrote great, uh, poems and prose about uh, Indian beauty, the architecture, the culture, and it reminded me of one another brother, Rudyard Kipling,
Yes.
the one who wrote Jungle Book. He
Hmm.
was born in Bombay presidency during that time, and he was a prominent force in Freemasonry. He is
Yes.
our great asset. So India has a lot to offer, or Indians has also a lot to offer to Freemasonry
Yes, that's definitely right.
globally.
And even myself, Brother Manan, I was born in Pakistan, but
Yeah,
genetically, I'm 100% Indian because my mother's side comes from the Indian Kapoor family, and my father's side is the Topper family. So after they became Muslim, they take the last name Sheikh. But
I
originally,
see.
I'm genetically Indian as part of that original land of that time of the subcontinent. So we're all connected in terms of the Indus Valley civilization and all of the great brotherhoods of the East
Yes,
that existed
yes,
in the aspect of self-improvement, helping ourselves, helping each other. And we know that there's one God above, and there's different paths we take to the same mountaintop to get to the same destination. And we're all here in this short life together to basically be good human beings, be better, make good men better, as what our brotherhood teaches us. And this moves me on to my next question is because all freedom fighters have been Freemasons to a certain extent. So Freemasons are those that stand on the side of good justice and brotherhood and equality. So if I were to ask you in the current crisis in India right now with the COVID situation, how is the brotherhood in India helping the Indian community during this time of crisis?
See, I'll be honest with you. During this period of time, although the Masonic labor is not being conducted very well, but on the service part, on the philanthropy, we are, it depends from the lodge to lodge as well. Some
Yes.
of them are independent from each other because in India we have 4 regional Grand Lodges.
Mm,
The one Grand Lodge, and there are 4 zones: north, east, west, which I am from west, and the south. So, and I was also in southern regional Grand Lodge of India when I was in Goa. uh, let's just say all of them are somewhere or the other. Yesterday I had a conclave meeting, and in that,
mm,
uh, one of our noble brother had said great things about the members from our lodge who have been, constantly in the, even in the, let's say, COVID warriors. We
mm,
are, we as in, if not me personally, my father is a doctor, yeah, and he is also a Freemason, so
mm,
he's doing his duty, let's say. But all the people, maybe not doctors, there are some people who are going uh, to hospitals to help brothers, relatives, brothers, I mean, the members' relatives, Freemasons' relatives, and
mm,
they go, they see, they check on it. And conclave being the one, somebody yesterday just said on a Zoom meeting that conclave is the only order in which, if you might be knowing, or some
mm.
of the viewers, that we have to check on uh, other brothers' well-being.
Yeah.
and that standard we have to hold on to. So we are working exclusively and independently. Anybody is helping somebody else, and there are many examples, and we can't count or discount either of them, because if I speak of one, then it will become just like, a fuzzy picture. But
Mm.
also the Grand Lodge has been trying to caution people, Masons, and telling for the better world, let's not meet, because if we meet, we might be able to, because in India there was at least a law preceding a rule regarding meeting 50
Mm.
people can meet, but the nature of our rituals might make the virus go haywire into the
Yes.
wider society.
Yeah.
So self-proclaimed, we have contained that. That itself is a big thing.
Mm. Yeah, that's absolutely correct, my brother,
We can get
because
more details from it, all the activities I might not be knowing. So that will be my answer. But yeah, in this situation, it's definitely, I should not say only Freemasons are working or they are working lesser or the other way around, but everybody is being human.
yes.
That's what I should say.
And that's a beautiful way to explain the situation, my dear brother. And you explained it in a very great way that besides being bringers of justice and defenders of humanity and justice, Freemasons are also those who follow the laws of country in which they reside in. So
Yes.
in India particular, they're honoring the policies of their nation to for the betterment of not only their self, but the people around them. And which would move on to my next question is, if someone in India asks you, what is Freemasonry and who are you as a Freemason? How would you answer their question?
This one is always the tricky one, isn't it? For everybody.
Right?
Yeah. So I would just say it's an ancient order which has been inculcated with all the esoteric and spiritual ideas of peace, equality, uh, how to behave, or or how to have a observant presence of yourself, and it can enable you to explore the world which you don't know about, even though it is in front of your eyes,
Mm,
and dispel the misconceptions of the world, or religion, or the boundaries in any form.
mm,
And this can also, obviously there are perks of being a Freemason, that you make good relations with people around you who can be useful, helpful to you during your period of time, as well as you are also responsible for others during their crisis, during their bad times, which god god help doesn't come for anybody. And so we swear by it and we live by it,
mm-hmm.
and that's what I would say. And what was the next thing you asked? Like, you said that.
Yes, so now I would ask you is because you answered this in a very great way, as always. Now I would ask you if you were to give any message to humanity as an Indian Freemason, to the brothers in India, to brothers of all the nations of this world, to humanity, on your Masonic values, how it has helped you, and what message you can give to humanity on how our Masonic values can help humanity unite in a better way. So we still see so much problems in the world, my brother, in all places where people are fighting each other over racial issues, religious issues. What message you can give to humanity to tell them that we are all one and we are all here to love and respect one another? So what's the best way you can describe this, and please take your time and explain it.
I got it. Let's say, like, I have studied law. I read law. So in Indian Constitution, the preamble states that, you know it is self-explanatory. If you read the preamble and if you read the uh, blue book of ours, or let's say the Masonic ritual book, it will inculcate all the same similar things: equality, fraternity, uh, and unity in diversity. So India is one country which world looks upon with great hope, because it has been a sovereign land since 65 years or so. And more than that, it has grown to be a rich culture with various diversities which even I might not know, various languages. And amongst those differences, the Union of India has survived, thriving, and posing to the world.
Mm.
It can't be possible without acknowledging as well as distancing from the notions of religion, politics,
Mm.
uh, the differences in the caste systems, which is also a little bit of an issue in the subcontinent, I would say.
Mm.
Uh, and all these other things are being overlooked, and people are at the end of the day human. When this pandemic hit, I think nobody cared which religion you are from. Nobody cared whether you are a rich person or a pauper
Mm.
or whatever the social background. Nobody cared about how the superficial differences we have made, let's put it that way, between people. And there we can find the proper brotherhood. So
Yes.
Freemasonry is not limited to Freemasons themselves. I think there are non-Masons who are also worthy of honorarily being given, let's say, the title of Freemasons. They are the builders, free builders of society, of ideas, of various personal opinions and ways of dealing together with society. And it's a dynamic country. It has opposing views, but still respecting each other, be it religion, be it the things about politics, whatever. At the end of the day, all the Masonic ideals are inculcated in Indian stream of culture, tradition. It has been and it had been. And I wish and I hope and I pray to the God that hope it continues in this direction. And not only that, let it be spread to the world in whole. And United Nations had also been quite keen to understand these socio-cultural dynamics, and hopefully they can find a way for the rest of the human behavior and for every individual on this planet Earth. So that's what I would like to put it in this way.
That's a great answer, my brother. I couldn't have said it better myself. And you know, another beauty that I've seen about the Indian culture and history is when I read the book Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, who's one of the greatest Masons that we all know in our brotherhood. And
Yeah,
on page two, I believe 202, he lists Siddhartha Gautama from India as the first Masonic legislator in history. So even Albert Pike himself gives credit to an Indian from India, Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, that at his time when he was a rich prince from a high caste system, he was able to
yes,
bring able to bring all of the caste of India under one umbrella of brotherhood, charity, and love and
true.
equality. And even that time when King Ashoka from India also followed the aspect of Buddhism, because he was able to bring all of humanity at once. And he himself led his own brotherhood, which is known as the Nine Unknown Men of King Ashoka. So
Spot on. Yes, I was about to say that.
it's so beautiful, my brother, that even here, when I first even knew about Indian Freemasonry, I read in Albert Pike's book that the first Masonic legislator in history was basically an Indian Freemason, which is described as the Buddha, which was very interesting to see how all of these leaders and philosophers and teachers that
Yeah.
came, they were all basically uh, teaching the values of the brotherhood, where one can
And
give
you
them
know,
the honorary title.
yeah. And in the back of those days, let's say, there were also ancient mystery schools in India.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, not Freemasons like in official sense, but de facto there were schools like that from which scientists has emerged during that period of ancient sciences. Uh, also the occult, let's say, or the esoteric uh, teaching, which is maybe a stigma for the Western countries or the other countries. But in India, it is always considered at par with every other subject.
Yes.
And you are right to put it, all these things. Even this can open up a new frontier for a talk in itself, not just all this in brief, but we can really talk about Freemasonry of India in its role and ideas and ideals to make India as India it is, or also the other way around, how the ideals of India has succumbed itself into the goodness of Freemasonry, which is with its richest, uh, you know, treasures, I should say,
Mm,
because even every esoteric writer or somebody who is a philosopher, be it Jiddu Krishnamurti
mm,
or be it anybody, if he's popular in the West, even Gurdjieff in Russia, all these people have derived, Annie Besant or Helena Blavatsky, they all derived from the Oriental sciences. And nonetheless, it is all connected with Buddhism, as you rightly put it. Now, Buddha and Ashoka's story is quite different. Uh, and so much so that what you're talking about is is true, that nine unknown men, and we don't know yet that there exists a body, or is there an organization, or let's say order, which still carries on the mental, and I hope it does, and that's why
yes.
we have such a brilliant thing. The Ashoka Chakra in the flag of Indian, national Indian flag of India, is based on Ashoka's traditions. So,
Mm-hmm.
and also where I live right now, in that region, uh, Ashoka had imparted his knowledge of Buddhism everywhere in nook and corner of his kingdom at that time. So that architecture is still there, although it's written in old Pali language, I believe. Maybe I could be wrong, but yeah, all these things. And during those period of time, he said there should not be slaves, or if there are, they should have certain rights. Even it goes as far as the Hammurabi Code, and we could understand that also from the perspective of tolerance of Jews in the state of his kingdom,
Mm,
and why it was given to them, because the Freemasonry which developed was from that ancient roots.
mm,
So if we start from Freemasonry, any topic, then it won't go to the direct impact of what it had done. But where from the origins of Freemasonry came, those are the sources where the glory lies. And so that would be all. I think I am adding to the point of yours. I completely agree. You can also share some thoughts about India, and maybe other people who would be watching can share. And
yes.
I might be doing justice to whatever I said, but there are lot more things said than what I did.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, my brother. And, to add on to what you're saying, most people do not know that Brother Swami Vivekananda from India was also a Freemason, like you said. And he also went to speak with Nikola Tesla. And Nikola Tesla said the universe is based on the mathematical principles of 369. And most people do not know who taught him that. And 369 are basically the Vedic principles of prana, akasha, and kalpas, which the Swami, our brother Mason, told him that I want you to find the mathematical values of these Vedic principles of existence. So we have an Indian Freemason Everyone talks about Nikola Tesla, but no one gives the credit. Who is the one who started him on that path and gave him that information? So that's another
I wouldn't,
I wanted
as
to
a
add.
Freemason, I would say he wouldn't have minded also if he's not given credit per se,
Yes.
because what matters is the knowledge, not the individual, I think.
Yep.
And
That's
he
right.
lived up, and I think the journey of Vivekananda's life is an example of Indian Freemasonry in itself, in a way. One
Yes.
of the one of the picture you can see, let's say, if we are exploring from the 3D perspective per se of Freemasonry and India, if the 2D picture can be presented, it would be Swami Vivekananda's teachings and what he did in his life, his message, his views, and what he has achieved itself will bring Freemasonry. And even today, I mean, in this current world, in India, when there is Universal Brotherhood Day, Swami Vivekananda is always remembered as such. And also, uh, I think the mother lodge of his was Anchor and Hope.
Yes.
I don't remember the number. The name was Anchor and Hope in Calcutta. And all his quest for finding God or being spiritual came up from the membership. The other Masons he has talked about, I have researched on it very wisely,
Mm.
and I would be grateful to anybody who wants to know about it, because I have connected Swami Vivekananda and Freemason in a great deal. Otherwise, I would just put it, let's say, as a layman, that
Yes.
do you think a brown man from India wearing clad clothes and orange things, let's say, whatever, not derogatory at all, but in going to US and able to sustain all the things, and so much so that he will visit World's Parliament of Religion in
Yes.
Chicago.
Yes.
It wouldn't have been possible. Where would have been? Where would he be hosted? How how would have been he treated? It would only have been possible if he, because I think he was a Freemason. It was lot, I should not say easier, but possible.
Mm. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And what our brother Swami Vivekananda teaches us is that if we are able to find the divine in our hearts, and if each man and woman of this world has access to the divinity in our heart, and if we know that what I carry in my heart, Brother Manan, you also carry in your heart, and once we know that, how can there be any hatred in the world if we realize that we all have that same quality within each other, and we're all basically an extension of the grand architect of the universe, experiencing this reality together to love and guide each other and improve each other. Which goes to my next question: what other prominent Indian Freemasons have influenced the Indian society today and built up Indian society today, and how have they influenced your life and the way that you are carrying things forward?
So let's see, as far as I can remember, and I'm not trying to deliberately omit anybody, but whatever comes out of my mind and due to the constraint of time as well, let's say one of the famous cricketer, let's talk something apart from what have been we be pursuing. One of the famous cricketer was called Ranjit Singh Ji of
Yes.
Jamnagar.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, on the honor of him, the Ranji Trophy has been founded in cricket,
Mm-hmm.
which is first class cricket.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the chief, I mean, Freemason, and I think, if I'm not wrong, he was from my mother lodge, and or maybe he's one of his family members.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if we see the ex-chief justices of
Mm-hmm.
India, I forgot the name, but also C, as I said, C. Raj Gopalachari, the first president, or the first independent India's Governor General,
Yes.
who took the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Motilal Nehru, who was
Mm-hmm.
the driving force behind the movement of Indian independence, of which his son was politically involved in. but the ideals were carried by Motilal Nehru, the father of Jawaharlal Nehru,
Mm-hmm.
was a Freemason. And uh, I think other people would include, I should not limit myself with India, but I will also speak of India.
Mm.
Uh, Rudyard Kipling, let's say, is also one of the finest example. I am keenly interested in writing things, which I
Mm.
will do in due course. And I have studied him. He has, in fact, he has borrowed characters from India, and in his one of the plays or in poem, he he is using Freemasonry as one of the subjects. Uh, Also, I would say I forgot the name of this particular gentleman. I'm sorry if my memory doesn't serve me at this moment. But on the page of Masonic website of India, the first list has been given, like around 30 people or so from India. Anybody in the world would know at least half of them.
Yes.
And they are the best of their times, and they have achieved a lot and given a lot to the world and for the goodwill of humanity. For me personally, I wouldn't go away with any other than Swami Vivekananda as my favorite,
Yes.
because he is the epitome and the admixture of all of them.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think he's ideal Freemason as well.
That's
You know,
absolutely right.
he lived his life. He lived as a Freemason, I think.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Because
But I'm also fascinated by uh, Buzz Aldrin. Was it true? The first Freemason to go on the moon.
yeah, that's right. He also planted a Masonic flag on the
Sorry,
moon.
the second person, but the first mission.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. He was
Yeah.
the first Mason who I believe under the Grand Lodge of Texas in America
Yes.
established basically a lodge on the moon. So there is a lodge
Yes.
outside of the earth, which
I
was
given a talk on that one fine evening.
and it's so beautiful that that brother still in his old age still goes around fighting with himself and upholding Masonic values for humanity and still walking strong, which is a pivotal example for us today for our young Freemasons. That if
Yes.
that a brother like that is still going around putting in the effort for humanity, then we have no excuse to sit idly by and not do anything to improve our situation and improve the situation of our nation.
But do you also know that, I mean, of course, you must be knowing Wright brothers, who were who developed the flight, like the aeroplane founders
Yes.
or the inventors. They were also Wright brothers, were the Wright brothers for Freemasonry. And I think I have studied a little bit about them, that they inculcated their ideas from ancient, not Vedic, but Indian texts, which relates to Hinduism in
Yes.
general, Vimanika Shastra.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that is a new book or whether it is having historical things or not, I don't know. I can't be sure, but it's obviously used in mythological sense and TV programs and as such in this modern era of this dispelling the truth and the myth bustings and things like this. But of course, I'm sure even Leonardo da Vinci was shown with the paintings on
Mm.
his diary of how to create elaborate dynamics of a flying bird-like structure or a parachute-like things. So all these inventors are somehow or the other, if they were not Freemasons, they were related or keenly in touch or have been funded by or have been befriended or shared the knowledge by Freemasons. So there is something about Freemasons which Freemasons are also, forbid me for saying that this, that may not be aware, but somehow or the other it brings upon. It's, if somebody asks me what's the magic that you do in Freemasonry, I think that is the magic. that somehow or the other, something happens surprisingly and boom, it's like, wow.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And, to add on to what you're saying, my dear and worthy brother, is that most people don't realize is that majority of the people that they know, in terms of those who stood up for justice, invention, progression in human society, from Da Vinci to the Wright brothers, even some religious and philosophical figures, they were Freemasons, and it's something for our order and brotherhood to be proud of, where most even in our own brotherhood don't know how Masonic influence has directly impacted their life in some way, shape, or form, whether they were following a faith or a philosophy or an upbringing or dealing with some kind of an invention or knowledge that was given by the Freemasons, unknowingly or unknowingly, to many extents. Because we
And
are a humble brotherhood. We don't want credit for anything. Just like how
yes,
Brother Vivekananda gave that knowledge to Tesla, and he didn't want the credit or any mention, because he realized it was between him and the grand architect of the universe, and that's all that matters. And
yeah,
I would also ask you, my brother, in the next 10 minutes to conclude this 1 hour talk,
yes, yes.
what is the philosophy, purpose, responsibility, and the mission of the Indian Freemason and your life in particular? And in the next 10 minutes, please, the floor is yours,
Yes,
and explain.
I think I'll take just 5 minutes, and if you don't mind and if you're okay, I will ask one question to you,
Sure.
which can open up a little bit of discussion for you, for us. In general, I would personally benefit from Freemasonry. The first thing that I benefited is to trust somebody.
Yes.
I never used to trust people, and
Mm-hmm.
only Masons who know, I mean, who has gone through the first degree would understand what I'm saying. And if you don't trust, there is always a punishment in some form or the other.
Mm.
That's the first thing. And in life, if I use this, and even if I try to seek the goodness of something, some something qualitative from people, and if I'm thrown out or like baited off, I don't mind, because I've put my 100% trust, and that's the highest virtue, I would say. The other thing is never to be very affluent about yourself, because modesty is the fine
Yes.
principle which we have been taught. Even the king or a pauper would be having nothing when they go, or even if they enter a lodge room at that particular time, which I'm supposed to say. So, uh, uh, I hope you understand. Like, modesty is one of the core principles. Like, even if you are a king, or even if you are living in a miserable time, it will go away. Nothing is permanent. And I think these are all principles on
Mm.
which I would walk on, whichever path I took. And also, if we talk about world in general, the world unity, the peace, this all comes first within us. Otherwise, we cannot resonate that to people. That is what I'm firm on that. And because an individual and the collection of individual makes a nation or the world. And I think I'll carry forward with whatever I have in whatever field I do. I'll first consider what would a Mason do. And I might not be a greatest person to always follow that, because we are humans after all, or
Yes.
maybe I am, not trying my best effort. But if I really sincerely sit down and ask myself whether I'm doing XYZ thing on a particular way is correct according to the to the principles of Freemasonry,
Mm.
if the answer is yes, then I should do it. If no, then what I'm doing is wrong, and it
Mm.
will come to haunt me. That's what I have seen so far in my 10 years plus journey. So that will be all. But I have one question for you before we close up.
Yes, my brother.
Yeah, like just because for a change, let's just say, what would you say to the Indians from two, these are like two subsets. A, being a Sufi Muslim yourself, Sufi practitioner yourself,
Hmm.
uh, how they should treat each other, not only Freemasons, the larger population in general, to India and the Indians and the Freemasons of India,
Hmm.
by your personal experience in Freemasonry also. And B, partly just touch on a little bit of like nowadays there has been a lot of junk going in social media and YouTube and everywhere, like Freemasons are devil worshippers, or conspiracy theory,
Hmm.
COVID, they are behind it and blah blah, and they know all these things and they are somehow part of a global conspiracy, and you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
those people, what to dispel or how to dispel and to convince them, there have been documentaries done by people, but I want your answer.
Yes,
So
my brother.
these are both two different things. I'm sorry if I'm taking a little bit more time, but
No, no,
these
no.
are also core things, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, exactly. And I want to answer this question taking my time. But before I do
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
please tell my viewers all around the world where they can find you and how they can contact you. And then I will answer your question.
Okay, yeah. So I think I'll give the description of your channel in mine,
Mm-hmm.
and there will be email ID in the about section of the channel,
Yes.
and my video will be, I mean, sorry, uh, in your channel, you describe in the description about my channel, and there will be about of me in that. So vice versa. I'm also going to upload this video
Mm-hmm.
and attach you in the description,
Great.
and email address, and I think you already have everything in the page. And this is my first video, as people are not aware, and I'm starting it from the very noble conversation about the Almighty.
Yeah.
So let's hope it goes great. And so I think the descriptions of both of our channels will
Mm-hmm.
have each other's uh, email in their abouts and other things, social
Mm-hmm.
media or whatever, and numbers maybe if they have, and also the links of both our channels.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
now,
you can also elaborate on that if you want.
definitely, definitely. And now, my brother, to answer your question is that
Yeah,
I myself am genetically 100% Indian from my background and my ancestry. And I would tell my
yeah,
brothers and sisters and all people of India, as a Pakistani Sufi Muslim and Freemason, is that we have this short life together. And what we learned from the first Masonic legislator in history, with Siddhartha Gautama, is that he had a wife, he had a child, he had riches, he had a palace, he was from a high caste system, and he one day he left everything because he realized that we waste our whole lives chasing after money, degrees, titles, not knowing we can lose all of that tomorrow. And I can go to sleep right now and I might not wake up. I do not have any guarantee. When I face the grand architect of the universe, he's not going to ask me, Salman, how many cars did you have? How many degrees or money or titles did you have? Or what big house did you live in? He's going to ask me, what good did you do for yourself, for others, and for your brotherhood with the short time you were given? And that's what I would tell my brothers and sisters of India, is that each path is teaching you the same reality. In Islam, we say that, God is the only reality. In Hinduism, we have the Brahma being the only reality. So all of these different paths are basically the oneness in our own hearts, where even Krishna says that no matter what path you take, it all comes back to me. So we must love and respect each other and realize not to be divided by superficial divisions like religion, race, caste system. We're all one human family. and we have to love and respect one another. And I would tell my brothers and sisters in India that you have a very, very rich land in your ancient history since time immemorial, since the existence of our brotherhood, which has basically shaped human destiny. And there are people to this very day from prominent Western countries that they might not tell anybody, but they go and study under the gurus in India and bring that knowledge from the east to the west, from the west to the east. So if you understand, and
Yes.
that's the reality that India, and the purpose of me interviewing my brother and the brotherhood from India is to tell them that they have a very big responsibility that has been handed down to them in this current day and age. And every Freemason's job in India should be to unite Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, Jewish, whatever, to tell them that we're all brothers and sisters and let's work together for the benefit of my children, your children, and realize that when I win in life, I'm happy. When I'm sad, I cry. I wish the same thing for your children. We all want success in our life, and I'm a human being just like you. And to not let
Mhm.
the agents of chaos, because the fight between good and evil is not limited to India. The fight between good and evil exists in all races, religions, countries, and groups of the world. There is no such thing as a bad Indian or a bad Hindu or a bad Muslim. It's, you have to judge the individual by their own personal characteristics and their personal character rather than, their overall general appearance. And I would tell people that take the time to know what's right, what's wrong, and to stand up for the right thing and not let the agents of chaos that exist in all communities tell you that, oh, you have to hate this person, you have to hate this person, because anyone that causes division in mankind is not of God. I have to make that clear. Anything that causes division is ungodly, whether it's religious fanaticism, nationalism, anyone that tells you to hate anybody or causes any kind of divide or ego, they are not what our brotherhood represents or what Almighty God or the Grand Architect represents. So, my brothers and sisters in India, if today was my last day on earth and I would give you a message, I would tell you please love and respect each other because you have such a great history, responsibility, and the people that have put their faith in you, even in today's society, please do the right thing. Listen to your heart, do the right thing, and love and respect each other. And India will continue to become the prominent power that it has been existed throughout the world and throughout the ages. And that's the best way that I could tell you is please think about all the things that I told you. Think about all the things Brother Manan told you, and to be careful when you go online and you see people saying Hindus are bad, Muslims are bad, Freemasons are bad. Find out the origin of who those people are. Remember what I said about the agents of chaos. They exist in all walks of life, just like how good people exist in all walks of life. So be able to differentiate and have discernment between the two and realize that Islam doesn't tell me to hate anybody. It tells me to love people. Who are these people that are telling me to hate Hindus? They are not Muslim. They are agents of chaos. If I see in Hinduism, it says, Krishna says, you can follow any path, you will come back to me. So have the discernment when people try to cause divide between you and tell you that you have to fight and that you are not brothers or Freemasons are evil. As you see, any society in history has been benefited by the Freemasons. Even if you look at the creation of Pakistan, just like how America was a Masonic experiment in 1776, I did a video on the history of Pakistan. Pakistan was
Yes.
created by Freemasons. Most people are not
Yes.
ready to, even in Pakistan, most people are not ready to accept this reality because a lot of the imams and a lot of the people who are not educated tell them that Freemasons are evil or we worship the devil, which is incorrect. It's totally the opposite. We are a man and brotherhood of Almighty God, and we need to follow what the UGLE is doing in terms of the Enough is Enough campaign, and speak up and tell the people who we are and what we stand for.
Mhm. Wonderful. That was a very, I should not spare more words rather than just to say it speaks for itself.
Yes.
And I hope that message is carried across Masons and non-Masons alike, and hope the things are going in right direction.
Hmm.
And that's what we hope for. We need productive dialogues like this, what you have initiated, this kind of YouTube channel, conversations with brother, even in these times, and meeting new people, sharing ideas. This is how the healthy society should operate. And that's how people individually develop and as a nation or as a culture. And such are the teachings of our order, my friend, my brother. And uh, and this is the noblest thing you can do. And what is better than the best thing you are able to do? And we always are misled to believe something else because of our conditions sometimes. But when you think through everything, just like you said, I think no matter whoever says are on the side of the darker side, but on the darker end. And the one of the topic that I got to know from you is about the creation of Pakistan and the Masonic influence onto it.
Yes.
Maybe you can do a video on that too, which you have done it, I think. Yeah, you said you have done it already.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
And
I
it
may
was,
have missed it. I always subscribe to you, but maybe that was the one I may have missed it. I'm terribly sorry for that, but I'll go through it. It should be a worth knowing, and we can do something about these kind of conversations. So I think from my side, that would be fine. I mean,
yes, my brother, we could continue in the future to have dialogue with one another and not just be limited to this one interview that we did, but also make future episodes and have brothers from India and other part of the world join
yes,
us in these Zoom calls to teach humanity that Freemasons are a global brotherhood which transcend all boundaries of human limitation. And if we can
of
come
course.
together and love one another and teach people that if a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Jewish, whatever, if you can come together and love one another, why can't you do the same if we can do it without any problem?
I just want to just share this one last thing. Have you mentioned, if I'm not wrong, about the conspiracy part, which I told you? Like, people, what do you say to people who are like, Masons are into behind the COVID or the New World Order?
Hmm.
In just a brief, like not more than a minute or two, you can take your time or whatever. What do you think? Because in India, this is a rising force like Illuminati and like Freemasons. I have seen it because now the world is getting technocratic, let's say.
Hmm.
And in India, in Hindi language or in other languages also, the Masons are cited, and some of the photos from Freemasonic lodges are being, and there is a guy who comments something that, it's a cult and they are the real power holders. And so
Yeah,
what would you say
exactly.
to them from a perspective who is not from India on something like that?
The best way to answer your question, my brother, is to teach people is that Freemasons are just average human beings like you and I trying to survive in this world. Most people, they
Exactly.
reach out to me and they have these strange questions because they think that
Exactly.
Freemasons, me being a Freemason gives you money, power, influence, and connections with people. And I tell them that you actually have to invest your time and resources into the brotherhood because it's volunteer organization to be a better human
Mm.
being, and it's not about me taking advantage of connections or doing other things. It's about me being a good human being and to teach them that I'm an average human being trying to survive like you, trying to go to work, trying to pay my bills, trying to put food on my table, take care of my family. I'm doing the same
Yes.
thing that you are doing. But unfortunately, with the internet, just like how you have good things, you also have bad things where people say, okay, they're doing this. And you have to realize that if Freemasonry is a force of good. So those that are on the side of evil, no matter what affiliation they might have, they will see Freemasonry as a threat because we are a society of unity, love, free thinking, and to promote the values of goodness and unity. And anyone that has seen that as a threat has always targeted Freemasonry in their own way and with different nations and their history, as you have pointed out earlier, with the concentration camps. where the first person that they came after was a Freemason. So the reality is that we are a force that is needed for this world. And I tell people that light and goodness and humanity and peace is always destined to win over the darkness. So no matter who in this world tried to destroy the Freemasons, we're still here. My brother Manan is here. I'm here. We are still here. And that means God still needs us for something. He needs us for something, and we are in this world trying to do something right for humanity. Because if we weren't needed, then our trust is in the grand architect of the universe. And that's it. We're just God fearing men. We trust God, we believe in God, and we try to do the right thing for ourselves and our family. And it's nothing more than that. Please take the opportunity to sit down with somebody like Brother Manan, myself, and clear your misconceptions. Don't let the internet teach you that Muslims are bad or Freemasons are bad or Hindus are bad. Please take the time, I beg you, to sit down with somebody and get to know them before you judge them with what somebody has implanted in your brain.
Perfect. That would suffice. And I think people who would like to know would be transferred to this conversation of yours so that they can get good idea. And maybe we hope that God changed their mind and in a good way and a right path.
Yes, my
So
brother. Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching our video. If you have any questions, I will put Brother Manan's email and contact in the description below, and I will do the same for myself. And our love and respect for everyone, and my love and gratitude for Brother Manan and my brotherhood in India.
Thank you very much, Salman.
Take
Brother,
care, brother.
so nice
Thank
to
you.
you too.